Hello everybody, welcome back to Kanga TV, home of North Melbourne fans, and welcome to the very last practice run for 2025. All of this build-up has come down to one final moment, our final pre-season practice game against West Coast over in Bunbury, Hands Stadium on Saturday the 1st of March, 6:10 Melbourne time kickoff, 3:10 local time, and this is it. It's one last roll of the dice, one last opportunity to practice and trial and error a bunch of different things before we get ready to start the 2025 AFL season. I can't believe that after starting Kanga TV at the end of the trade period in 2024, we have gone this entire time. We've made fun content. We have filled up the off season with as much talk and as much conspiring as we possibly can, all down to the very end. And we are almost ready and raring to go for the 2025 season. And I know that you are all just chomping at the bit. You are all just really looking forward now to getting stuck into the real deal. So am I. But while we are here, I thought, let's just take the opportunity. Let's look back at last week's practice game match simulation against the D's, look forward to what we can do against the Eagles, and maybe predict a few different moves and some outcomes and what we can expect to see in our final practice run of 2025. I have absolutely no doubt that our opponents will be heading into this game full of steam and full of confidence. The Eagles defeated Richmond in their match sim Monday last week. They won by 36 points, and Andrew McQualter has his team playing a really lively, rejuvenated brand of football. West Coast did look up and about, and I think West Coast is a team that a lot of people expect to maybe surprise them this season. I think it's hard to know where they're going to land from a North perspective. Over the past few seasons, I felt like we have been on par with West Coast, and I do go into every single encounter that we have with West Coast expecting us to put up a fight and for us to really be competitive and really take it up to them. And we have. I mean, we have walked away just about even in terms of wins and losses over the past few seasons over the Eagles. Both sides have been lingering towards the bottom of the ladder. Now, this is only a practice game and it's hard to know exactly what's going to come from it, but a lot of North fans definitely left last Saturday's game against the D's probably feeling disappointed and feeling a little bit deflated. And while you don't know how much to take out of a practice game and you don't want to jump the gun too soon, I think a lot of fans probably left feeling disappointed within reason as well. We've had so much hype from pretty much the start of 2025 when we came back for the year up until that moment where we had our first hit out against an opposition side. Even that intra-club game the week before at Arden Street, the vibes were high, the energy was up. I think fans just had a really, really great vibe and were kind of feeling really pumped and really positive leaving that game. So to have us go down by 47 points to the D's on home turf just a week later and looking like we ran out of steam towards the end there, I think a lot of fans were disappointed because so badly do we want to see improvement and so badly do we want this club to succeed that when we lose touch with what was a bit of a B-grade Demons outfit towards the end there, you kind of left wondering, well, where do we go from here? I'm trying not to take too much out of that D's game. This time last year, we absolutely pantsed Collingwood in our first match sim. We did go down to St Kilda the week later, but we looked so good against Collingwood in that first match sim, all for it to fall apart in round 14, just a few months later. And it's really easy to forget, but we do actually play the D's in round 2. So we only play the D's in about 3 or 4 weeks' time. And I'm glad that we aren't exposing all of our tricks and we're not putting all of our cards on the table for them to see when we do know that we are going to face them in a few weeks' time, and hopefully we'll be able to catch them on the second time round when the real footy begins. So coming back to this game, though, I think we can probably expect a lot more of a competitive performance and hopefully a bit more of a complete performance. The one thing I did find frustrating about that game against Melbourne, and maybe it was sort of a game of two halves, the first half, we really took it up to them. We were so defensive. Our pressure was up. We made it a little bit of a slog and a bit of a scrap. And no, the skills probably weren't there for the first half. We were able to match the D's. We were able to kind of get a bit of a chokehold on them. We were able to take advantage of a lot of our opportunities. We did limit the D's and we didn't really allow that quick transition heading into their forward 50. So that I thought was really impressive, and I think we did that really well. In the second half, our skills looked better, our attack on the ball looked better, and our speed and our transition and entry into our attacking 50 looked a lot stronger, but that opened the game up the other way, and we just didn't have any answers for the D's when they were going back towards their goal. And that's unfortunately an issue that's probably carried over from the end of 2024. But again, it's the preseason, and like I said before, it's a practice run, and it really is our opportunity to just try what we can. A bit of trial, a bit of error, see what works, what isn't working, which players are working in which positions, what do we need to do, what players do we need to call up, and that's kind of what this is all about. I do expect, like I said, this performance to be a little bit more competitive. We don't play West Coast again until June, so maybe we can go at it a little bit harder, hopefully not too hard, because if there's one thing that any team wants to come away from a practice game is just injury free. Let them have a good hit out and let them get a bit of juice in their legs and get a bit of practice and get a bit of cohesion amongst the playing group without actually walking away with any injuries, because that's the last thing we need. Obviously, during the week, Zane Dersma, it was announced that he has suffered a calf injury and he is still struggling with a bit of recovery there, so we won't probably see him for the first few weeks of footy. He won't be available for selection, which is a shame for him and a shame for us, because he did look quite dangerous when he went into the midfield in that intra-club game a couple of weeks ago. So what can we expect in terms of personnel on the field? The one change I would love to see is I'd love us to bring another hard running, attacking defender, a rebounding defender in that backline. Caleb Daniel, while he did play a really, really great game against Melbourne, he can't do it alone. And unfortunately, I don't think we can have Luke McDonald and Darcy Tucker in the same side at the moment. They are quite similar players and they both do have the same deficiencies, being execution of skill. It maybe isn't quite where we need it to be. I initially said in my review of the D's game that maybe the likes of a Harry Sheasel or Colby McKercher could move into the backline, but I almost forgot Riley Hardiman, and I can't believe I almost forgot Riley Hardiman. I've been so hot on him all preseason. I think him not playing in that D's game, maybe in my mind, it didn't really feel like he was going to be a name that would be put forward for selection for this game against West Coast, but absolutely he should be. He's exactly the kind of player that can come in and really complement Daniel, and together they can bring the ball out of our backline, because while Core and Logue and Comben all played well and held their own in that game against the D's, there's only so much that they can do, and there's only so much they can stop when the ball is coming in at lightning pace, repeat entry. Unfortunately, there's just going to be a time where they actually don't have the answers and they actually can't stop it. So I'd be really looking to keep Shees and Colby forward of the ball and in that attacking portion of the ground, and then maybe bring in a Riley Hardiman. Zach Fisher may be in the frame for discussion when he's back from injury. I don't think he's available for selection this weekend, but we might look to go with him and give him another trial. But I think two players of that mould coming out of defence is exactly what we need, and I think that's what we should be looking to bring in this game. Moving to the other end of the ground, and Jack Darling not only looks like he's cemented that spot as our second key forward, but he also will be chopping out Sherry in the ruck as kind of that hybrid role. I did initially think that would be Bryn Teakle and we'd opt for a more traditional second ruckman, but it looks like Sherry has been able to improve his tank with a full season under him, and maybe he'll be able to carry the ruck stocks on his own. So then the question begs, do we opt to go for both Constanti and Hansen Jr.? Well, I thought both of them did show good signs in that game against the D's. I don't know if either of them are good enough to justify both of them being in the side when the likes of Eddie Ford is available for selection. And I think Eddie Ford just adds such creative flair and real individuality and a bit of personality on the game. And I know that sounds like it's something silly that you'd be focusing on, but he really just does have a license to do what he needs to do and put his own spin on the ball and on the play. And that is something that's so important, I think, to this side, because we do have a lot of players that are playing on potential and maybe not hitting exactly where we need them to hit. I don't know if the likes of a River Stevens or a Cooper Harvey are even in the frame of discussion, but potentially they'd be ones that we'd be looking to bring in. There are a few question marks just for me at the moment about both Constanti and Hansen Jr. playing in that same side. It seems to me like one of them would play for round one. I would still be opting for Hansen Jr. at this stage. I really liked what Constanti did bring, especially defensively, that game against the D's, but neither player really showed enough for me, like I said, to warrant both of them being in that side. So I think we need to focus on one of them, because Hansen Jr. did push further up the ground in that game against the D's, whereas Constanti probably stayed closer to goal, closer in that attacking 50. So it'll be interesting to see what we do there. I think there's still a lot of things for us to figure out, and what we look like coming into round one, I'm still not 100% sure. And I just want to use this game as an opportunity to figure it out. Just feel out a few different options, see what we can do, and really just give it our best shot. I would love to see this game be a little bit closer. I also would love us to really just take it all in, because Hands Stadium will be our new home away from home starting in season 2025, and I think it's important for us to really treat it maybe not with the same ferociousness and intensity that we would a home and away season game. Like I said, the key thing here is just to walk away without any injuries, and I don't think that I personally will be dwelling too much on the outcome and the result, but I think you just want to see a little bit more about what our game plan is going to look like. Like I said, it was a game of two halves against the D's last week, and it was a little bit tricky at times to see exactly what we're going to do. You could put bits and pieces together, but the blueprint for North Melbourne just isn't there yet, and maybe we were just keeping our cards close to our chests, and I feel like there would have to have been an element in that, as well as preserving our bodies in the heat, and also it was our first proper run against an opposition side, so I think we did handle ourselves as best as we could. I just want to see something competitive, and I think a lot of fans, like I said, probably walked away from that D's game feeling deflated because they have been so excited over the build-up of the past sort of 8 weeks, and then for us to let it slip by 47 points probably wasn't what a lot of people were expecting. I am really looking forward to this one. I really think that we can showcase the best of North Melbourne and the best of North Ball over against an opposition where we probably are a little bit more on par with. If you want to tune in with me with all of the action for Saturday night, I will be joining Pommy for a live watch along. It's one thing I said I would never do when I started this YouTube channel, but then when the king of watch along and one of your closest friends calls you up and says, "Hey Marns, do you want to do a watch along for the West Coast North practice game?" What else can you say but sure, of course. So we will be doing that. Definitely tune in from Saturday night if you're at home watching the game. We'd love to share the night with you. If you want to chat all things North Ball pre-season, coming up for season 2025, anything in between, we can have a chat over on socials as well during the week. Kanga TV show on Instagram, X and Facebook. You can leave some comments down below. I always try and get back to your comments. I love chatting with you guys and interacting with you guys. You can also send me an email if you have something more that you want to dive deep into, kangatvshow@gmail.com. I will see you on Saturday night. I can't wait for our final hit out. The season is almost here. We're nearly there, guys. This is it. Let's come together and let's share the last practice match together before we dive straight deep into season 2025. I look forward to seeing you all on Saturday night.